What's up, you beautiful people? If you or you may know someone that is thinking of becoming a support worker and getting into the industry, listen up because I have some valuable tips that you will need. Now, I have been in the industry for 2.5 years now, and I have learned and grown a lot being in the support work field, not only as an individual, but also as a support worker. And obviously, I'm going to continue to evolve, learn and grow and learn new things along the way as well. But if I had someone when I first started, guiding me and helping me along the way, that would have honestly been a game changer and amazing. So I want to be that person for you and give you some really helpful tips on becoming the best version of yourself you can possibly be, and most importantly, an amazing support worker for your clients. The number one tip / rule that I always preach and live by is to be an everything type of support worker. So what that means is every client is different in their own unique, beautiful, individual way. So you might get a client that needs you to be more enthusiastic. You might get a client that may not want to, talk that shift. So you have to respect that client's boundaries and just simply, shush your mouth and not speak that shift, which is totally okay. You might get a client where you will have to be a lot more firmer with them, depending on their behavioral challenges, or what's in their behavior plan / care plan. Obviously all of these things will be in each individual client's care plan, but it's just really helpful knowing these key things, because like I said at the start of my video, if I had someone to give me a bit of an insight before I stepped into the support work field prior to myself having no experience, it would have been so helpful. So that's why I want to be that person for you guys if you or someone you may know is thinking of getting in the industry. So that is the number one tip I would live by, is to be an everything type of support worker, because you never know what kind of client you are going to get, and some days are going to be more challenging than others, and some other days are going to be more easier than others. It just really depends on the client and their needs, and what you guys do on that day. Whatever you're going through, regardless of it being mental, something personal happening in your life, as hard as it is, you need to leave that at the door to go and provide the best care and support for your clients. And I know for some others that can be very hard, and it's something that I'm still learning to do myself. But you will not be able to provide the best care and support for your clients if you are going into that shift already, having your own thoughts of what's happening in your own life. Because when you think about it, we're caring for vulnerable clients 24/7 hours of the day, and they need our support, and sometimes we're the family that they don't have. So if you rock up to a shift and you can't provide that best care and support for your client, then they miss out, and that's not fair, because they deserve your 1000% every shift and every time you go into work with them. And a prime example of that is, almost 2 years ago now, I went through a 6-year relationship breakup, which was very hard for me. And the very next day I went into work and catered and cared to my client, and I had to leave what was going on in my life at the time at the door to go provide that best care. Of course it wasn't easy. I just went through a breakup. No one likes going through a breakup. It's painful, okay? But it's what you've got to do in this line of work. And a quote I always go by is, it's not a bad life, just a bad day. The pain is only temporary, and things will heal within time. Normalize being friends with your clients as well as their family. Now, this one is a very hot topic. I know a lot of support workers just strictly like to keep it as work and that professional boundary, which is completely okay too, because every support worker is different and there's no right or wrong way to go about it. But myself personally, as a support worker, not only do I keep that professional boundary, but I'm also friends with my client, because I feel like the more open you are with them, the more likely it is they're going to feel a lot more comfortable and open with you, which is exactly what you want. But that's also where you want trust and that foundation to form. So I make it very clear to my clients that I'm their support worker first, as well as their friend, and then their friend. But they know that I am there as their support worker. And that's where I draw that line and that firm boundary. But I'm also their friend as well. I'm their confidant, someone they can rely on, trust, have fun with, And those are the kinds of things that you want to be building with your client as well as their families. At least for me anyways, because you don't want to just feel like, oh, it's work. You know what I mean? Like, you want to have fun going to work, and you want to have a really good day and build those connections with your client and, their families. And obviously work for everyone isn't fun. Me personally, I love my job. I love being a support worker. I enjoy, being a support worker every single day, and I enjoy hanging out with my clients every single day. And I think a part of that is because I've built such a strong foundation with each individual client. And that's exactly what you want. So for me personally, it's not only building that professional boundary of saying, hey, I'm your support worker, but also, forming that friendship with the client as well as the family as well. Not wearing your uniform all the time. Now, I know this is a very controversial one, and something that I copped a lot of backlash on one of my vlogs with one of my clients the other day. Rightfully so. I was in my PJs, so that's understandable. But not every client wants you to show up in uniform, and the reason for that is because they want to feel like they are just hanging out with a friend. They don't want to feel like they are being watched or hanging out with a support worker. They want to gain that independence without having to feel like, oh, this person is like babysitting me, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? So sometimes not wearing uniform makes them feel a lot more comfortable, and that is the end goal here. We don't want them to feel uncomfortable. We want them to feel their most authentic, genuine, happy self, and to be comfortable with you. So I've had a few clients in the past that have simply asked me personally, hey Debbie, can you please not wear your uniform to work? And they've explained why, and I've completely understood and respected that and that client's boundaries. Within saying that though, although I respect my client's boundaries and take into what they are saying, and on those days, sometimes I don't wear my uniform because they've asked me, I also make it very clear that I am still their support worker, and I also still remain on setting that boundary to them so that they don't get the wrong idea or impression, if that makes sense. Not every client that you get is going to mesh with you, and vice versa. I've had a few clients in the past where we've gotten along very well, but our personalities clashed and it just didn't work. And we need to normalize that being okay, because sometimes you're not the right support worker for that client and the family, and sometimes that client and the family aren't the right clients for us support workers, and we need to normalize that being okay, because it's not the end of the world, and at least you gave it a crack and you gave it a go, and if it didn't work out, that's okay. Dust yourself off, pick yourself back up, and there'll be plenty more clients out there that you can still support and help and assist with their daily living. Allowing your client to have their own independence. I'm a massive preach on this because all of our clients are so independent, and they are more than capable of doing the things that they want to do if they set their mind to it. Of course, we are there to help guide them and help them with that process and be a helping hand, but some of the things that I tend to do with my clients, like if it's more community access, of course I'll suggest places of where we can go, but ultimately I'll leave it up to my client of where they would like to go, because ultimately it's their day, it's their community access, and within doing that, I'm showing them that they do clearly have that independence and they can make their own decisions. And that, of course, we're here to help and assist them with that. But it is so crucial and so important that they remain and have that independence, because that will help them in the future and with just daily life and daily living in general.